Hey, how's it going? My name is Bashless. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today I am going to be going over my experience on Corrupting Cry and whether or not I would recommend it. Just to be upfront with you, I don't think I'm going to be recommending Corrupting Cry. I've got a lot to say in this video. I've leveled two separate characters on different ascendancies to give Corrupting Cry, I feel like, as much of a chance as I possibly could before making this video. And yeah, I leveled a third character as a ranger, and I've got to say the difference is so staggering that it convinced me that I've been wasting my time. And I'd like to go over some of the shortcomings of Corrupting Cry, as well as my characters. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I've got my Warbringer that I got to level 74, and then I got my War Cry Scenary, my Witch Hunter, to level 80. You may be thinking, why would you make a Witch Hunter into a War Cry character? And that is because of some simple tech that my community tuned me into, which is if you use Seismic Cry with pin support, you don't stun anymore with Seismic Cry. And I was like, well, maybe I can leverage Judge, Jury, and Executioner with no mercy, because if I can just lop off a large amount of their concentration at the start of the fight, I can snowball that for more damage for my Corrupting Cry. But the thing is, it's just not going to happen, y'all. It really isn't. The damage compared to what I'm doing on my level like 19 Ranger right now, like if I were to compare it and the campaign playthroughs, both on the Warbringer and on the Witch Hunter, Corrupting Cry just feels horrible. And I'm gonna try and break it down as to like why that is. So, Corrupting Cry deals a percentage of your strength as physical damage per second. It has none of its own flat. It has none of its own flat damage. Your strength is the flat damage of the skill. And Corrupted Blood only does that for you. There is one damage node, and then the rest of it is either area of effect or increasing the attack damage that the Warcry is buffing, or cooldown recovery. And the cooldown recovery is really important because that will allow you to push your Warcry to sub 5 seconds, as Corrupting Cry lasts 5 seconds. It can have 10 stacks, so as long as it's below 5 seconds on your cooldown, you can approach 10 stacks rather easily. Now, I would like to say rather easily because when you're going through the campaign, sub 5 seconds is rather achievable once you get Admonisher, but you're only at like a 4.9 second duration, or sorry, cooldown. And that is such a small amount of time, it is difficult for me to accentuate appropriately, because imagine you've waited 40 seconds to get to 10 sacks, which is what would happen, right? You would be waiting 49 seconds, technically, with that math. Now, that's a long time to reach your full maximum damage potential, especially while going through the campaign. But here's the kicker. If you even so much as decide to dodge roll at the wrong time, Corrupted Blood and all 10 stacks will fall off. And you'll have to start over. You'll have to wait another 49 seconds in order to reach 10 stacks of Corrupted Blood, which, by the way, it doesn't even do comparable damage to other archetypes when you are investing in it so heavily. It feels horrible. It feels so bad to spend all of these passive points when you're going through the campaign. Admonisher, Bolstering Yell, Cacophony, you're pathing up here for Deafening Cries, you're getting Guttural Roar, you're doing Battle Fever, you're picking up every single little shenanigan that you think you can do. You're picking up Offensive Stance so that you can use scale damage from your block. You're picking up Lay Siege so you can scale 2% damage instead of just 1% damage per point of your block. you're picking up a Chober Chobber so that you can hopefully find a new way to scale damage because there really isn't that much flat physical or Warcry damage available. There is no damage over time available anywhere on the tree, to my understanding, unless it's just over in Timbuktu. But yeah, I've been working really hard to try and make Corrupting Cry the main thing that my character does, and it's just not. It's the thing that I spam the most and I go around in maps, but I guess spamming it kind of kills the fantasy for me because in Diablo 2, when I was Warcrying, or when you Warcry, I feel like there's weight to it. I feel like there's real weight, and I guess you're buffing yourself in a more permanent way due to battle orders and battle shout and all those other things that bow barbarians do, but I just don't feel like my fantasy is being satisfied as to like what is Corrupting Cry. I feel like it's an incredibly missed opportunity that Corrupting Cry is still necessary to be attached to another Warcry. Like, why can't Corrupting Cry just be its own skill at this point? Why do we have to sacrifice an entire support gem just to use this skill in the way that we want? I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to revisit this build at another point when they have settled the dust of early access. But I've been incredibly frustrated the entire time. It has been a struggle. I'm using many unique items to bolster Corrupting Cry as much as I possibly can, such as Titan Rock Cataphract, Black Sun Crest. Both of these are perfect with their strength values. I'm using Yarn Gripper so that I can wield a Chober Chobber as a one-hander with Giant's Grip, and that allows me to scale minion damage, which is conveniently nearby, and yet it's still just not enough. Something about Corrupting Cry just isn't the main thing, right? Like, isn't the main show, the main spectacle of whatever build you're doing, and that feels terrible. That feels so terrible, man. It's like, I don't want to be an attack build. I don't want to be a totem build. I've spent all of these passive points on Warcries because I want to be a Warcry build. And yet, Warcries just don't do comparable damage to anything. It feels so bad, man. I feel like I've wasted so much time just sticking my head in the sand and pretending that conceptually it's enough for me, but it really isn't. I thought that the more damage on the Witch Hunter would have been appealing, but it just kind of falls off with Judge, Jury, and Executioner. It's not even really that noticeable, especially on boss fights. And the more I think about it, 30% more damage really isn't all that much when I look at the skill synergy between other classes, and it's like, well, Warcries just don't get any synergy. They get to buff other things, but they don't get any synergy. Maybe that's one of the like core issues. I've got a list here of like a lot of my complaints, so I'm probably gonna have to make a separate video for all of them. I was asking my community, I was asking my girlfriend, and then I was really challenging myself to go through my thoughts on a lot of the things that may have been talking about. So yeah, let me go through my notes. Corrupting Cry feels like a missed opportunity. Why is it not its own skill? I already talked about that. Spamming Seismic Cry for Corrupted Blood does not feel satisfying. And the fantasy feels unfulfilled. I already talked about that. I don't know if the frequency of use has caused it to lose its luster with me, but it feels like a clear skill at best. The novelty has worn off. This is kind of what I was already talking about. I'm just spamming the skill. I'm just... You want to see what my maps are? This, man. This is what I do. I walk around very slowly. Very slowly. Slower than a ranger firing a bow. Okay? 15% movement speed boots. I am that slow. I can kind of like one tap it, but even then I don't really feel that fast. The AoE isn't that much to write home about. You're using pen support if you're on a Witch Hunter, and then you're using probably Magnified Effect with Inspiration support if you're a Warbringer to reduce the cost and increase the AoE. This just doesn't feel like very good gameplay to me, man. I don't know. There definitely some hangups. I'm definitely a little jaded. I think that this just isn't it. This just isn't what I had imagined for what Warcries were gonna feel like. I don't know what I had imagined, in all honesty. I just wanted to Warcry, and I thought that I was gonna be able to feel as if some of the problems from POE1 were addressed for Corrupting Cry. And in all honesty, I feel like I feel like it's worse. I feel like it's worse than in POE1. I mean, one of the main hangups of Corrupting Cry in POE1 is that you have to use a Forbidden Shaco that has like the Corrupting Cry at an extremely high level. And again, it's like this could just so easily be solved if you just make it into a skill gem instead of a support gem. Maybe give it its own little bit of flat damage. Maybe don't make it have 10 stacks. Maybe don't make it something you spam. I just don't really like spamming it. I don't think I can stress that enough. This just doesn't... It's a novelty, right? It's like, oh yeah, I can spam it now. But after that novelty wears off, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to mute my game because it's just so annoying. And it's not even like incredibly OP to like have that trade-off of annoyingness, or it just doesn't really feel like there's weight being... Is that fair to say? It just doesn't feel like there is any weight behind doing this. I'm also not trading as much as I possibly can. When it comes to rare gear, hey, I'm here to judge the game, okay? I am going to judge the absolute hell out of the game for how difficult it is to get resistances. What are they thinking, okay? I have spent millions of gold trying to replace this level 10 ruby ring. Level 10! I got this in Act 1! I have been spending every single ounce of my gold on gambling rings, and it just cannot give me anything that isn't complete crap. Millions of gold! I have played this game for hundreds of hours at this point. Every single day since launch, December 6th, I have been streaming for 7 to 12 hours or more. I haven't gotten a ring improvement across 2 characters. I took this ring from my Warbringer and put it on this one because I thought that it was the Ascendancy that was the problem. Kind of was. While I was going through the normal campaign, I got Row! I'm digressing so much. I'm starting to talk about complaints that I should save for another video. Yeah. If you want my recommendation, don't play Corrupting Cry. As you're not a Corrupting Cry build. You're a Corrupting Cry clear skill with other supplementary elements. It doesn't feel satisfying. I'm sorry I'm not able to illustrate that, but very, very frustrating. Very, very... Gosh. Soul crushing, man. Very soul crushing. It's an entirely new game, and yet I'm experiencing the same problems, but kind of worse. It's like you want to just do something thematic or flavorful. You don't want to just like do the OP thing, but it's like across 2 games now, I can't really escape this feeling of stop doing off-meta things. It's never going to work. They don't think about it, or they don't care. or it's not on their radar, or I don't know what. But I feel like I am being conditioned to believe that unless it is just bonkers flavor of the month OP, it's just not really even a thing. That sucks. That sucks massively. I talk about this like all the time, but I guess I should talk about it here. There's this article from Magic the Gathering that they posted this one time about like their philosophy of different archetypes that play their game. And when I say different archetypes that play their game, I mean player archetypes. And they broke it down into like three categories. There's Timmy, there's Johnny, and then there's Spike. Spike is the most competitive. If Spike wins 9 out of 10 games, there's a high likelihood that Spike is still not very happy. Johnny likes to win on their own terms, and through trial and error, they will express themselves in unique ways. They like to do their own thing and show off with that own thing. Timmy's like to show off with big plays. You can think of these as the FOMO players. You can think of these as the I want the most OP thing all the time. I want big damage. I want big plays. I want big cards. I want big monsters. All the, big. Think that. Now, I feel like Johnny players are really, really, really suffering in Path of Exile 2. Even in POE1 a little bit of the time. As of lately, I think that Johnny players are suffering. I have been experimenting and experimenting and experimenting and experimenting, trying to do my own thing. The game does not feel balanced for that. Neither game feels balanced for that. It feels as if there are a finite set of builds that the game is balanced for, and you are shit out of luck if you so much as even think about playing anything that is not those builds. That is a problem. That is a big, big, big problem. I don't know. I'm going to move on, and let's talk about the other notes that I have for Corrupting Cry. So, Corrupting Cry, as I said, this is my gameplay, right? There are some unfortunate realities that come with playing Corrupting Cry, or Seismic Cry specifically. I want you to look at these animations. Do you see all of that? I will help you break it down. I want you to look at all of the individual pebbles. I want you to look at how they are knocked up off of the ground after being spawned, and how they have unique travel patterns. It is not replicated. It is unique every time. Look at all those little rocks on the ground every time I want to use my ability. Also, look at all of the smoke. Look at all those smoke particles. Do you see it? Do you see how they also have their own unique physics? And then there's a golden ring. There's audio files. And then this is a damage over time, which is being applied to basically everything in the nearby vicinity. This is a very, very computationally heavy skill. That's just my guess. If you want to experience less lag, probably don't use Seismic Cry, because this has a lot of things going on. This is just a hunch. I'm not speaking out of like I'm some super duper science nerd whiz. I'm speaking of like just my experience with video games and particle effects. This is a lot going on. So do with that information what you will. They slowly despawn, but again, you're spawning these while going through the map and other things are happening and you're lagging, and just makes me wonder if maybe this could be a reason as to why I'm lagging sometimes while playing Corrupting Cry. Who knows? I certainly need all of these pebbles here. I totally do. I need all of them. I need all of those pebbles and the smoke effect as well. I couldn't play it without it. I'll stop being toxic. So The last thing I'd like to say about a complaint for Corrupting Cry is lightning mirages and the implications that they have for Corrupting Cry blood application. I'll try to find footage of this happening. Maybe I can just record something real quick, but lightning mirages are intangible. They are not damageable. Then why can I apply corrupted blood to them? Blood. Why can I apply corrupted blood to them? Go ahead and try. You'll see for yourself. You can apply corrupted blood to non-damageable lightning mirages. I think the implication for this is pretty big. What else am I unwittingly applying secret corrupted blood stacks to? Does that mean I can apply corrupted blood to things like terrain? Does terrain possess the ability to animate having corrupted blood applied to it? Again, these are just thoughts bouncing around in my head. I'm not saying that it is 100% true, but the implication is pretty big, in my opinion. There are many intangible things in this game. How many of them am I applying corrupted blood to? Yeah. Not going to say it's 100%, but definitely weighs on my mind of like, okay, how much of the lag am I experiencing as a result of just the bugginess of Corrupted Cry? So that's really the character in a nutshell, and my experience in a nutshell on two characters. So, and just to show you, you know, I'll prove it to you. I got two characters with the exact same tree, right? As you all know, armor feels terrible, so a lot of what you want to do as a strength stacker is just not good. Cloak of Flame, low W, start stacking fire resistance and maximum fire resistance. But got to a similar point. I was like, okay, not really having fun. Maybe it's because I'm not doing enough damage, because Great Wolf's Howl is like utility at best, and then Warcaller's Bellow is never active on bosses. So that's like 4 ascendancy points of just like, why am I playing Corrupting Cry? I don't know, man. I'm a little upset. I'm trying not to be, but hopefully you can understand of like, you have an expectation set and you're hoping that you're going to have fun, and you do your best to try and have fun, and you're trying to share all your ideas and strategies or unique items that you're using and stuff, and it really just kind of falls flat on its face as a result of what the game itself has allowed you to do. I really want to blame myself. I think that would be the best thing to do, is that I was just stupid. Um, but it sure did sound exciting to me. It sounded very exciting to me on launch, and the more I have played it, the more it has worn on me that this is really the gameplay. You run around and you do mediocre damage compared to other classes that have better defenses than you, on top of just dealing more damage through like less investment, less travel. Like, I mean, the travel between some of these Warcry nodes is just ridiculous. The amount of available scaling, the lack of flat damage, besides just, you know, percentage of your strength. Locked behind unique items, not on the right character anymore. Sad is an understatement. Sad is an understatement. I was really hoping that this was going to be like my thing, but it's just not what I thought it was, and it absolutely does not feel the way I thought it was going to. But my gear is pretty garbage. I will trade for unique items because I'm not going to wait for those to drop, little W. But when it comes to rare items, yeah, yep, I'm gonna try and make them myself no matter what, because that is what the game should allow you to do. The game should allow you to address the problems it presents to you in real time, and it should not be looking to punish you or starve you of resources to address those problems. It's just very frustrating. Very, very frustrating right now. Um, it's a multifaceted issue. But just to let you guys know, I am ending my corrupting cry journey. I am sorry to have failed you. I really, really did my best. I want to enjoy it, but right now I just don't think it is in an enjoyable state. So do with that information what you will. I am going to be going live here in just a few minutes or maybe an hour or so. I will try and have my, by and large, 0.0, or what was it, 0.1.0e or something like that. That's the name of the patch right now. I'll try and get my short list of complaints for the patch up tomorrow. And it's going to be a similar style video of, I'm just going to be ranting. I'm going to try and bring up as many examples on the screen as I can. Especially for tomorrow's video, because I'm gonna try and be really, really specific. I feel like such a quitter. I feel like such a quitter. I feel like I've lost. I feel like if I weren't such like a hopeless fanboy and I were like a new player, I would have quit by now. I'm sure I'll have more thoughts about this in the future, think of something that I forgot to say, but I think that's just about everything. Thanks for tuning in, guys. You have no idea how much every like, comment, subscribe, view, sharing, it all goes a long way. And I sincerely appreciate every single one. And I appreciate you. So happy holidays. Merry belated Christmas. Sorry to be a Scrooge McDuck when it comes to corrupting cry. But I don't want to pull the wool over your all's eyes and be like, yeah, this is great up until level XYZ, or I don't want to continue this experiment if all it's going to result in is stunting my growth or limiting my ability to address the game in the same way that other builds can. Yeah. A little bit of a downer. Sorry to be such a doomer. But this is tough to talk about because I really, really wanted to play this, but at some point I gotta cut myself loose and just start experiencing the rest of what the game has to offer me. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe, have fun, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.